Hotline League is brought to you by Omen by HP. If you are tuning in for the first time this episode, you are watching Hotline League. It's a call-in show hosted by Mark and I. This week's guest is Riot Chopper, who hits up the NA LCS. We have Khan on the line. Khan, who previously has been on the show and is a Twitch sub. Thanks for your support. Where are you calling from again, Khan?
Oh, good old Idaho. Nice that Risen can remember me as somehow the only caller that calls into the show, but just good old Idaho.
Oh, very good. I mean, a lot of people bring up Idaho. We seem to have a lot of callers from Idaho.
I've already cracked too many potato jokes.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I'm supposed to be cracking anymore.
So what do you want to talk about, Con?
Well, I appreciate Chopper for being so open with the community as somebody who's the head of NA LCS. It's nice to see. But my question is kind of piggybacking off of the last guy in a way. What type of plans does Riot, you guys have to improve NA LCS viewership? Because, I've been kind of watching the numbers all split, and there hasn't really been very much of a bump, especially compared to kind of the glory days for the NA LCS in like season 3, season 4, season 5 when it was. Yep. So what do you guys have planned to maybe help bring it back? Because it just feels like we're still stuck in a lull. I mean, I was watching last week and games 4 and 5 were under 100,000 viewers on the Riot Games channel. And that's, for me, as somebody who's been watching from season 2, that's a huge kind of disappointment.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things. One, I don't think the viewership is as dire as you're portraying. I would remind people who only watch on Twitch that we are also on multiple other languages on Twitch.
Also on YouTube. Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Yeah, sorry. Also on YouTube as well as other languages there. So, are we where I aspire for the league to be in viewership? No, certainly not. I was here in 2013. I helped work on some of those analytic reports that pulled those numbers. I know how big our potential audience can be, and I am the reason that I'm here is to build us back to that state. Like, there's nothing fundamentally different about our league or our fan base or our teams that prevents us from getting back to that. So I, like you, want us to get back to that sort of glory age, as you kind of put it. And I think to do that, we have a lot of things in plan. Some of them are going to involve working much more closely with the teams as franchise partners. I think we're going to be able to coordinate much more closely with them around the kind of content that we do and the sort of supplemental experiences that we're able to design that are going to provide more rewarding and engaging experiences for fans. I think we also have a lot that we can do on the Riot side to build out the digital and sort of overall fan experience of being part of the NA LCS. I grew up as a major sports fan. I grew up a Duke basketball fan and a general Philadelphia sports fan. And I can remember as a kid being part of things like the Junior Duke Blue Devils Club and what it meant to get the t-shirt and feel like you were part of the club, and the pride I took in being able to represent my team, and the fact that meant that I didn't miss a single game. And, was able to carry that on for years, that behavior. And so we're looking to create long-term engagement cycles with our fans. And we want to make sure that our fans are able to integrate with their teams and integrate with their favorite players and integrate with those brands in a compelling fashion. And that's a lot of the stuff that we're working on right now. I think it was a massive effort to launch the season given the number of changes that I talked about above. I mean, I don't want to underscore how challenging implementing a franchise system was for Riot as a company, and also this team on NALCS, and also the who had to undergo this entire process. And so I think now that we are into the season, this is really just the beginning of what we aspire to do to rebuild the NALCS into truly one of the best esport leagues in the world. So, I don't have a great answer for you now, other than to say that, let's book a Hotline League in 6 months. And if I haven't answered your question better by then, then we'll start talking about more direct action steps. But I'm incredibly confident in this team. We have one of the best staffs in the world, and this is a team, and our pro teams and owners are ready to partner with us to build this thing into something that all of our fans can be truly proud of. So I'm super excited about that. I know our team is super jazzed about it. And I think over the coming weeks and months, and to be honest, years, you'll see that effort reflected.
All right, yeah. I just, a few things, I guess, ideas. Maybe I'd ask you if if you guys are thinking about is like,
Sure.
I mean, obviously, if you wanted to inflate numbers for like a weekend, you could have like a Tyler 1. Not saying I agree with that or saying it's a good idea, but like even like special guests that come in. Or one thing I know a lot of people are disappointed with is that there was no kind of hype or like advertisement built around the start of the spring split with the new franchise system compared to like the Overwatch League. Anything like that potentially that you might know of at the moment, or
Yeah, I mean, I think for the start of the season, I would hazard this was probably the most challenging start of season that we'll have going forward because we are transitioning so many of the teams into the league and getting a lot of those guys up on and off the ground, and working with several of those teams who didn't have necessarily brands and logos and colors and all the elements that we need to kind of promote teams for the start of the season. So I think now that a lot of those teams are in the league and are going to be for years to come, that's an opportunity. And Ice Chest waving to the Twitch chat there. I think that's the opportunity that we have to really cement the start of season. To the point that you raise around like Tyler 1 and doing other sort of like single week spectacles to try and drive traffic. As much as those might be fun, the long-term impact of those is relatively minimal because we're not going to make a massive amount of money for the LRP and share that with owners and share that with players based on a single week's worth of viewership. And we're not going to sign a massive sponsor just because 1 week we happen to pull in fantastic viewership. We're trying to make decisions and we're trying to build programs and engagement cycles that can last for years and can engage someone who can come back week over week. So as much as we might be able to utilize sort of spectacle opportunities like that, that's actually I'm far less interested in doing things like that and far more interested in having the team think about what is it that makes a fan want to tune in for 5 hours on Saturday and 5 hours on Sunday? What makes them want to watch every game on this slate? What makes them want to watch Eyes On? And what makes them want to watch this or that? And what makes them want to watch Hotline League? Like, what makes them want to engage with the wider community and the wider ecosystem? Because to me, that's the sign of a successful league. It's not whether or not we can pull in 300,000 on a single Saturday. It's, for me, it's whether or not we're still here in 10 years. And so that's kind of the direction that I'm hoping to build the league towards.
Well, I'm happy to hear that too. And then just the final kind of point is, have you guys ever thought about taking it away from just the Sunday and Saturday type of structure? Because one of my complaints as a viewer is I feel like, you made the change of best of one so you can watch all the games. But it can feel overbearing to have all the games on 2 days, unlike other leagues that have games over 5 days.
It is something we've considered. We actually started the NA LCS back in 2013 with shows on Thursdays and Fridays. And we started them with varying times between 3 and 5 p.m. PST. And the problem that we ran into was by starting that late, we had very, very significant problems with attracting both an East Coast audience as well as a European audience. And one thing that we know about our audience in Europe is that they like to consume the North American LCS, just like our NA audience likes to consume the EU LCS. So we didn't want to take steps that were going to isolate either of those audiences. And so being able to utilize Saturdays and Sundays to go a little bit later, knowing the kind of viewing habits of the respective audiences that we were going with, but not necessarily having to go as late as we would on a weekday. While that might work out for our West Coast viewers, and we know there's a ton of incredibly passionate West Coast viewers out there, we want to make sure that we're taking into account the entire ecosystem. And so if there's a way that we can do something, whether through rebroadcast or kind of selected broadcast timing over the week, that's definitely something that we'll explore. But I think for now, we feel pretty good about the timing of our games being optimized for bringing in the largest audience possible.
All right, well, that's everything ahead. Is like I said, I really want to thank you, Chopper. You're always open on Reddit. You're open on Twitter. You're open to Travis.
Hey, man, my pleasure. It was a great series of questions to talk about.
Thanks, Con. All right,
and that's a sub, so you just know the quality kind of questions you get from Travis's subs.
Yeah.
Just great people all around.